Hello everyone, welcome to mindbraintalks, the place where you find diverse and scientifically accurate information regarding psychology, neuropsychology, neurosciences and research methods every single week. My name is Bruno Faustino. I am a licensed clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist who's been working as a therapist, researcher and educator for the past few years. Here in Mind Brain Talks, I discuss and describe different topics from research findings of psychology and neurosciences, and I try to explain them the best as I can for you to understand and for you to learn something more about it. All contents here are just for educational purposes, and it's not intended to diagnose any psychiatric condition or neurological disorder. So, without further delay, let's jump for today's content. Today, I'll talk about the transdiagnostic perspective on mental health. I will try to answer to the question of what is a transdiagnostic perspective on mental health. I will explain to you why there is this perspective on specific psychiatric disorders, and I'll try to say why it makes some sense when we look to some specific disorders, okay? Typically, this is used on the concept of emotional disorders. But first, let's look to what is a transdiagnostic perspective. So, now let's look to the manuals that I recommend to you today. The first is the Transdiagnostic Roadmap to Case Formulation and Treatment Planning. The second is Cognitive Behavioral Processes Across Psychological Disorder, a transdiagnostic approach to research and treatment. And the third is the Unified Protocol for Transdiagnostic Treatment of Emotional Disorders. Don't worry, in the future I will do a different video focused only on the construct of emotional disorders, okay? So, now let's see what is a transdiagnostic perspective. Transdiagnostic perspective is related to the increasing awareness that shared processes or mechanisms may work as the core basis for the development and maintain of different etiologies which operate across different or similar psychological disorders. A transdiagnostic process may be a label given to a mechanism which is present across disorders and which is either a risk factor or a maintaining factor for the disorder. This is a process that tends to predict a generalized factor which may be the cause of different psychological disorders. So, different examples of transdiagnostic processes may be related to attentional focus or attributional bias, pervasive beliefs, experiential avoidance and pervasive memories, distress intolerance, learned responses, or worry or preoccupation. So, this is just some examples of transdiagnostic processes. Now let's look to specific transdiagnostic processes associated to specific disorders, okay? So, when we look to intrusive memories, we can see that intrusive memories are present in depression, anxiety, PTSD, and eating disorders. Also, when we look to worry, we can see that worry is present in generalized anxiety disorder or depression. And when we look to the experiential avoidance or behavioral avoidance or emotional avoidance, we see that experiential avoidance is present in all anxiety disorders, okay? There are different anxiety disorders and we can see that experiential avoidance is present in all of them. So, we see that the transdiagnostic perspective is supported by high grades of current and lifetime comorbid at symptomatic level. There are similar vulnerability factors such as genes and environment, okay? We can see that different aspects of cognitive, affective, interpersonal and behavioral functioning are similar across different disorders, okay? And this is the key feature of this. We can see the same elements in different disorders. In this sense, we can see that some processes may be viewed as transdiagnostic processes or transdiagnostic mechanisms. Some examples of emotional disorders that tend to have some transdiagnostic processes are, for instance, anxiety spectrum disorders such as social anxiety, generalized anxiety, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Also, when we look to depression spectrum disorders, we can see major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, or cyclotimic disorder, which are disorders that tend to have the same cognitive, affective, interpersonal and behavioral processes that are shared in different disorders from anxiety to depression. So this is just an introductory video on this subject, okay? Don't worry, in the future I will produce different videos focused on specific aspects of emotional disorders or in transdiagnostic perspective across disorders and across mental health. Well, it's all for today. Don't forget to see the video description regarding today's theme in order to see the manuals and the books that I recommend to you. Also, if you like what I'm doing here, please consider to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. You can use the comment section below to express your thoughts and to express your mind. Let me know what you think about all of this. Welcome to Mind Brain Talks, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!